Has it been feeling like it's all got too much recently? Well, if that's the case, these 7 things might help. So the first thing I want to say is it's important to identify why it's all got too much. And the irony of all of this is, of course, when it does get too much, you can't always kind of see a clear way to find your way out. And neither should you have to. So this is day 67, I believe, of 365 Days of Lives. I am going to be sharing this on my YouTube channel because I think it's an important topic. I think it's one that we need to definitely talk about and discuss and have more open conversations about it. I think this is important because I see so many people who are maybe self-employed, who have got young families, older families, and they are carrying the weight of the world literally on their shoulders. So here's just some things that I would suggest if it all gets too much and you're thinking, well, what do I do? So the first overarching thing is declutter. Now I know this sounds strange and you're probably thinking, Jenny, are you some sort of TV clearing up house type of person? No. When I say declutter, often when things get too much, it's because we've got too much going on around in our head, too much going on in our life, too many spinning plates. So if we start with decluttering, I've written down 7 things and there's far more than these. And if you think of any more, please do comment below because I think it helps everyone and anyone who's listening to this. So the first one I'm going to start off with, if it's all too much, declutter your screen time. So many of us now have got smartphones, and on those phones it will let you know how much time you're spending online. I've been guilty of this too. I use my phone to come and speak to you on Facebook. I use my phone for most of my social media apps. I use my phone for my emails, to check my emails. I use my phone to play a couple of games on there when I want to kind of decompress. I use my phone as my calendar. If anyone wants to do something or spend time with me, I'll always check my calendar. And there are other places that you can do all of those things. So if that's the case, seriously have a look at how much time you're spending in front of a screen and consider reducing your screen time. A bit like an addiction, you don't have to give it all up at once. If you slowly bring it down, it will definitely help. Declutter tip number 2, and this is one that many people resist the most, is people. And I'll tell you why in the third thing. But sometimes there'll be people that just don't help when we've got too much on. Maybe they command too much from us. They demand too much from us. And we leave their presence for whatever reason feeling like we've been completely drained. Now, there's a couple of different reasons this happens. But in this context, there's something that I'd like you to consider and think about. And you might not have thought about this before. If you are extroverted, you actually thrive off the energy of people. I'm more extroverted, so if I want to get inspiration to write, to create content, to think of new ideas, if I go into a coffee shop, I don't have to even speak to anybody. If I go into like a coffee shop or I go to a place where there's lots of people, I get on the train, I go to a train station, it somehow energizes me and boosts me. However, for my introverted friends, the way that you get energized is by being able to decompress and switch off. And if things are becoming too much for you, you might be playing to the opposite sides of what really serves you. So my more introverted friends are often mistaken for being shy, and that's not true at all. They just need downtime. They need to recharge their batteries. They might want to read a book or a magazine. They might want to write poetry, journal, paint. They might just want to take themselves back. So if that's you, declutter. And just to say, there is also something called ambivert, where you're kind of in the middle of those. And sometimes you'll need time alone and space, and other times you'll need time with people. None of these are better than the other. They're just different. So this is important. So declutter number 3 is scenarios. And this is where the people element of it comes into. If you have people in your life that love the drama, always coming to you and feeling like they're literally dipping from your bucket by the way, there's a good book called How Full Is Your Bucket by Marcus Buckingham. It's a really small book. There's one available, or a version available for kids as well. And it talks about why this happens and how this happens, and how you can keep kind of yourself motivated and keep yourself energized even when things around you aren't going well. He tells the story of Viktor Frankl, who was kept in the concentration camps, and how he got through such a tough time and kind of lived to tell the tale. Declutter number 4, emails. Whether you're in business or not, many people allow their emails to stack up. And one of the things that I think most of the people that I've ever worked with, client-wise, whether they're in business or not, or work for somebody, is that feeling of dread when you open your inbox and you see a gazillion emails that you haven't got to yet. It makes you feel behind. It makes you feel like you need to catch up, and normally has you on the back foot. You can go in and declutter those. I once did this actually for a client. I went into their email box. I'm trying to remember how many emails. They had well over 40,000 emails. And I painstakingly went back to the beginning and either deleted, saved information, or forwarded it for them. This was many, many years ago. But I actually did that for them. So if when you look at your phone, you see the little red circle number, it doesn't mean that you have to just delete every email to start off with. Maybe do it step by step, but perhaps look at putting your email app further back so you don't see it every time you look at your phone or on your computer. If you've got pings that notify you when you get an email, try turning them off. Like seriously, if your house was burning down, I would never send you an email to tell you that. I'd actually pick up the phone and phone you. So anything that's really urgent can wait. And if you're still nervous about that, you can always stick an out of office on and just, forget about the emails. And the out of office might say something like, you'll be checking your emails once a day, 3 times a day, twice a day, and might let people know that you only maybe work Monday to Friday, for example. So that's another one. So thing number 5, declutter number 5, is noise. Spelt N for November, O-Y-E-S for Sierra. And what that means is all of those no's that you should have said, but you actually said yes to. Okay. Now, if I use the word should, as a coach, this really means don't beat yourself up because somebody else is telling you that you should do something. It's not your choice. On this occasion, when things become too much, have a look at all of the things that you said yes to. And if there's anything that you could perhaps say no to, that's great. If not, learn for next time. And here's how I personally learn for next time. All of those things I said yes to that I definitely should have said no to, I allow myself a good few minutes just to sit in how horrible it feels. Why do I do that? I'm not a glutton for punishment. I do that because when I sit in how it feels, bus alert in the background, but when I sit in the feeling of how it feels, it's a really great reminder of not to do it again next time. Because next time, if I don't feel the same bad way that I feel now, I'll feel 10 times worse. So that's the reason to look at your noise. Okay, the next one is scrolling. Now, last year, I actually did an experiment where I came off all social media for a month, apart from YouTube. It was such an enlightening experiment. I thought I was going to miss it and that I was going to have somebody lock my phone away and put it in a safe somewhere. But actually, there were a lot of surprising benefits to that. Things like my memory recall. I thought I was getting brain fog. Maybe it's my age. Maybe it's because I've got too many things in. My recall was tight. I got to speak to people a lot more and connect with them and interact with them on the phone. It had so many positive benefits. But the thing about scrolling is all social media, and I'm not making social media bad, but all social media is designed to have you lean in, look, scroll, click, move on to something else. In fact, a couple of my clients, when I shared this with them, very much described that they felt very ADHD when they were scrolling. So if you've got too much going on and you scroll, the problem with this is that you never know what you're about to see and whether that's going to add and very rarely take away from the too much going on. It'll just make you feel worse. And then finally, rubbish reads. Declutter the rubbish reads. Now, some people I know can read newspapers and watch the news and it doesn't really affect them. But for others, when they've got too much going on and they see the bad stuff that's happening in the world, it can almost traumatize them. And for some people, it actually lightly traumatizes them. That's why they feel bad or particularly moved by certain news stories. It can remind them of things that they didn't even know were kind of hiding in the surface. And when you've got too much going on and it all seems like too much, the best thing to do is declutter the rubbish reads and feed your brain with food. If you like reading, try reading some really great books instead. You might read something that's self-help like, but you might read something that's complete fantasy. I particularly enjoy Cecilia Ahern. A Place Called Here is one of my favourites. Very magical, mystical. Maybe revisit some of the books you read as a child, or read something that will feed your brain. Now, if you're not an avid reader, you could always kind of listen to a video or watch something. But here's the top thing I would do. She says with her coat on after what's been quite a warm day. Go outside. Go outside, leave the computer behind, take a notepad, pen, a paintbrush if you need to, and go outside and get away from the electronics. Because in all seriousness, you know, there's a lot of glare from the screens. We end up squinting at screens more, and those glares of the blue light is designed to keep you alert and awake. If you don't believe me, wake up in the middle of the night at some random time, stare at your phone for 10 minutes, and then you'll see how awake you are and that you really don't want to go back to sleep. Okay? So if it all becomes too much, remember these things that you can do to declutter. Your screen time, people, scenarios, emails, changing your yeses to nos or not having them be a yes in the first place, scrolling, and also rubbish reads. I hope this helps. I'd love to know what you do or what you've tried and what works for you, because whatever you post and comment below here always helps somebody out there who's reading that. Let me know, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 68, I think it will be, of my 365 days consecutively going live. Bye for now.